and welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with me, as always, my co-host, Tate Mathews. Tate, it's basketball time. We're getting deep in the region playoffs. It's fantastic. But before we get to that, let's talk about a few things. Let's talk about the results of the TWSAA Individual Wrestling Tournament. We talked a little bit about it last week, but Jalea Grimes, first ever state champion for Summit.
That's big time, and it's been fun to watch how the girls' side, the girls' division of wrestling has grown, and you know I think some people kind of worried about adding their own division because of participation. All you had to do is go to the Ag Center any one of the days this past week, 2 weeks ago, to go watch it, and you saw how many people were involved in it, and so great for her. I mean, there's a lot of girls in that division, first state championship. That's something to be very, very proud of.
Not only that, we put in 48 individual wrestlers, probably has to be one of the highest amount of people that we put into the wrestling individual tournament, but she was the lone champion for the WCS Sports Conference. So congratulations to Jalea Grimes, first ever state champion for Summit. Old Sparty, the year of the first, continues to grow. The list is continuing, Tate, not only for Summit, but for the entire WCS Sports Conference. Records are being broken, and the record book is continuing to be rewritten.
Yeah, and that leads us to, we got to give a very special happy belated birthday to the athletic director of Summit, Coach Chad Kirby, over the hill, joined the 40-year-old club earlier this month, and he's a big part of it. His guidance is really starting to, the fruits of his labor are starting to show.
Well,
Happy birthday.
He has done a fantastic job down there. Not only that, we're putting the pressure on him because apparently after I've done my spring tour at every baseball spring practice thus far, everybody keeps saying that the Spartans are the team to beat in baseball.
They're going to be good.
So, moving on, WMAA Championship was also last week. Man, we had some great games for the Middle School Association. And on the girls' side, Spring Station beat Sunset 46-38. In one of the most skilled middle school games that I've seen. Now, if you haven't seen middle school basketball in a while, it has evolved. And these kids are getting better and better. And at this age group, it could go either way. Spring Station, Summit, man, I'm telling you, there was a lot of talent on the floor. But Spring Station came away with the victory. Coach Goodwin in attendance. Yeah. Spring Station feeds, obviously, Summit. The future is bright for the Summit.
Yeah, Spring Station's had a nice run the past few years down there in all sports, really. And so you look at what Summit's doing on the girls' basketball side, and here they are, the WMAA champions again. The future is bright for Summit.
Absolutely. Olivia Colson right now, senior at Summit High School. Her younger sister plays. She's a 7th grader. Let me tell you, she's going to be very good. Along with the rest of that, they have some really strong guards. I was very impressed in the skill level of the girls at this age. I mean, they were really, really good. They had basketball savviness to them. And then you look at the Sunset side of things, you've got a really strong group that's going to be feeding now Nolensville. You know, there might be a few of those girls going to Ravenbrook, but Nolensville also the future looks to be bright for them as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait till they get up and go in full steam. It's just going to be another quality program in the county. It's going to be fun.
On the boys' side, it's almost like a future watch for Centennial High School. You had Freedom. The Stars of Freedom Middle School beats the Page Middle School Panthers 35-31 in a very close match. It ended up coming down to free throws, who could make the most. And these kids right here, the majority of the Page team of the starting 5 will be going to Centennial. And then the point guard from Freedom and a post player, who I say he's a post player. He's more of a tweener. He can step out and hit the 3. Very impressive players. All 5, if they go to Centennial and stick together, Pete Froden's going to have a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that when we get to the high school. But this year what he's done is got that program back where it needs to be. And then, like you said, there's a pipeline coming. So that's going to be fun. I did not get to see Freedom play this year, but everybody I talked to said they were very athletic, very fun to watch. So Centennial's got some help on the way.
It looks, it was very athletic, like you said, very skilled. Not only that, you even go back even further in the tournament in the second round, Brentwood, Harry Lackey over at Brentwood High School. This kid right now, put him on your watch, top 100 list as he enters into the high school realm as a freshman next year. This kid, 6'5", can absolutely play, is a guard, didn't even really post up, had, I think, 4 or 5 dunks on the year this year. Very impressive player.
Coach Mickey Johnson's been there since it was Northside Junior High. And he said quite possibly the best player to ever come through there. And that's a lot of really good players.
Not only the best player to come through there, could possibly be the best player to ever come through the WCS Sports Conference. And, there's been a lot of good players come through Brentwood. I mean, just here recently, you're talking about Grant Teichman, Tanner Tapp, those kids coming through there. What a great team they were. You take this Lackey kid with last year's 8th grade group who are now freshmen. When he was a 7th grader, they absolutely dominated the tournament. He goes up, joins those guys at the Brentwood level. Within 2 years, Coach Shirley right there, they're sitting on a gold mine.
I agree.
Girls Region 6 AAA tournament started last week. We start with the first game, Summit. Old Sparty, the Lady Spartans, defeats Antioch, the 2 seed. Summit came in as the 3 seed, defeats Antioch 52-27 to advance. Coach Goodman right now sitting in a good position. I think if people would have asked its first year, no way they even get to this point. But right now, Summit looks really good. The only downside of this is you win the first round region game, and then you have to turn around and play Dixon County.
Yeah, which they've seen, 3 times now, and Dixon County's playing really, really well. But, again, that's better than the alternative, and that's going home. And congratulations to him. We've talked about it all year. I really do think there's a lot that goes into this. These girls were older. Coach Goodwin's been there a few years now. He's fun to watch. He's so quiet off the court, but, man, he's intense from buzzer to buzzer. And I do think his wife being there has been a big part of it, too. You got really 2 head coaches now. But the job they've done is great. Obviously, the girls have to go out there and execute it and play hard and play well. But it's been fun to watch. Hopefully they can get 1, maybe 2 more. And
the thing about it is they almost had a 30-point victory, did not play their best game. They kind of kept the score low and slow and ugly, and they got through it. That was a good game for them to get through. Dixon County, the number 1 seed coming in, beat Glencliff, the number 4 seed from the other side, 87-24. And I'm telling you right now, it could have been 107-24. They were clicking on all cylinders. Lily Carter does her thing, but Emily Beard, the Region 6 AAA Player of the Year, I don't know what her finalized stat line was, but I can promise you she had to shoot like Steph Curry in the 85 percentile. Unbelievable game by the Dixon County Lady Cougars. They have so many weapons, though, Tate. You have Beard at the 1 who can handle the ball, get it to where it needs to. They have 2 great perimeter shooters. They have a big-bodied post that is hard, that plays very well. Not only that, she's a sophomore. And then you have Lily. I mean, usually people start with Lily, but they have every piece of the puzzle. Their only weakness right now would probably be they're not as deep as some of these other teams, but it's going to be interesting to see how Dixon fares. Now, I say that barring the fact that they advance, as on paper you would think so. However, Summit has gotten closer and closer each time they've played. I think the first one they lost by 20 the first go-round, and the second one they lost by 19, maybe a point, and then they're progressively getting closer. I really think that if Z. Esmond comes to play, and I know for a fact, because we've talked about it all weekend, what his game plan is and what he's going to try to attempt to do to see what happens, it could throw a wrinkle in the Dixon County plan.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is. I know the 1 district loss was against Brentwood, and Lee Carter got in foul trouble. So if there's a way to do that, and I think with Z, I don't know if she'll guard her. She might if she's scoring at a pretty good clip. But if they can get her in foul trouble, that's gives them a really good chance to be successful against them, because anytime she's off the court, that's good for the opponent.
Well, there's 2 schools of thoughts. One is you really can't stop Lily. I'll tell you why. You can guard her, you can face guard her, you can go box and 1, you can go diamond and 2, whatever you might do. But she's not a great outside shooter. But what she does to make up for that is the rebounds, the putbacks. She's so athletic. She gets the ball off the rebound, goes right back up so quick that it's really tough to defend that. But what you really have to do is look at the other players. For instance, if you can take Emily Beard out of the equation, somehow keep her out of the equation, that might be your best way to win. And I think that's what we're going to try to see. We may see a box and 1 on Beard and possibly pack it in for the opportunity to keep Lily Carter off the boards.
At the very least, if this game gets over 50, it's bad for Summit, correct?
Correct.
It needs to be a low-scoring affair.
First 1 to 40, and you need to keep it there close. Cane Ridge, the other side, number 1, came in against Franklin, our side, our number 4, defeats Franklin 49-44. Franklin finishes the year 14-15. Congratulations to the Lady Rebels. Coach Barnwell did a good job this year. Jody Hill, the only senior that will be leaving. Holly Harris, obviously a top player, will probably be named to the all-region team. Just a sophomore. Did not play their best game. I really felt that Franklin could have have beaten Cane Ridge. I know that Coach Barnwell feels the same, but you know, in tournament play, you've got to play well. Cane Ridge had a couple of girls that on film have not played well all year. They hit a couple threes. That's the way it always works. And Cane Ridge advances.
Yeah, and part of it, they were on their home court, you know, so you got to think that part of that played into it. But Joanne Tribune, she's been there for quite some time now. I believe started the school. Before that, she was at Hunters Lane. In my opinion, when you get over into that Metro League on the girls' side, she's the best coach over there. And so, you know, I'm sure they had a good game plan. And like you said, they came out and shot well. And this time of year, if the opponent's shooting well and you're not, pretty good chance you're taking up uniforms.
It's tournament basketball at its best. I mean, it reminds me of going back to March Madness, Davidson. Who played for Davidson?
Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Did you happen to watch that this weekend?
I did watch it this weekend. It's pretty amazing if you're talking basketball. And while we're on it, because since we're fixing to get into the boys' side, what he's doing at the professional level is unbelievable. You know, we saw him do it at the college level, and you thought, man, this is a diamond in the rough. They're making that Cinderella run, but he gets onto that professional level, and it's crazy. I mean, there's no words for what he's doing at the level he's doing it against the competition that he's doing it at.
The thing that blew my mind, did you see who he tied the three-point record in the NBA for most threes in a game? 12.
Right.
Have you seen who he tied yet? If you have.
Well, the overall, he tied his own.
Right. No, I'm talking about single game 12.
Who was it?
It's tied with two other players.
Craig Hodges.
This blew my mind. I wouldn't have guessed this in 100 guesses, 1,000 guesses. Kobe Bryant, Donyell Marshall. When he was with the Raptors, that blew my mind.
Yep.
That's a little tidbit.
That's a nice little nugget there.
Would you have ever guessed that?
Well, I would have thought Craig Hodges or somebody like that back in the day of the Bulls, but
Reggie Miller,
maybe. Ravenwood, number 2 seed for us, beats Hunters Lane, who was the number 3 seed on the other side coming in, 49-33. This was not really much of a game. It was a good opening game for Ravenwood. Once again, Hunters Lane, it's slow and ugly. That's the way they like it. Ravenwood kind of pulled away about third quarter there. And Mariska Harris has put herself in prime position to get herself a sub-state bid against Cane Ridge. We'll talk about those matchups here. Summit, right now the 3rd seed, 16-13, currently has to play Dixon, who's the number 1 seed, 26-3 right now overall. Dixon beat Summit, as I said earlier, all 3 times. What do you think?
I think they got to come out and play near perfect and make Dixon County not play perfect. You know, I mean, they got to put them in some positions where they don't like what they're in and not play as great as they have. And I think Summit's got to come out and fire on all cylinders. If not, it's just too tough of a matchup. You know, we hear about Wilson Central and the Murfreesboro schools. I'm not sure Dixon County is not as good as some of those. Have been flying under the radar. So all that to say, I think it can be done. I think Coach Goodwin, like you said, will have a good game plan, but it's a very, very tall task.
It is. And in the weak spots, I believe that Colson, the game plan has to be, we've talked about this a number of times with Coach Goodwin, you cannot front the post. She's too good. They'll throw a high-low to her because she seals very well and she rebounds well. So you're going to have to play behind her with Colson, which is fine. Then when the ball enters the post, you got to dig down from the wings. You've got to kind of double team to get them to kick it back out. But then that's where you got to be careful because they do have great shooters. But once again, you have to take Emily out of the equation. Now, Emily Beard has been known to, if she doesn't get involved, to kind of stay uninvolved. And if they can catch her doing that and catch her in the wrong state of mind, they've got a shot. Lily Carter can beat you by herself, but I'll roll the dice on that every night, and we'll see what happens because when Emily Beard pours in 25, they're going to be batting 1,000. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting. Ravenwood, 22-10 currently right now. Number 2 seed playing the number 1 seed Cane Ridge, 16-9. I really think that if Ravenwood plays a solid game, I don't think they have to play perfect. Solid game advances Coach Harris.
I think you're right. I think she got the best draw of anybody in this tournament. You know, Summit loved being district runner-up, but in a way it kind of penalized them a little bit going into the region tournament. But I think you're right. I think Cane Ridge is a game they can win. Probably want to slow it down. They don't want to play real fast. If Kira Downey comes out and plays well like she has most of the year, I think they got a chance. And I don't know if the Lady Raptors have ever been to a sectional game. I'd be surprised if they have. What an accomplishment that would be.
Well, I feel very confident. Best of luck to both our girls' teams. I hope that we at least get one in. I'd love to get 2. That would be nothing better than to have a WCS Sports Conference sub-state game right there and all six AAA region championship matchup with two WCS Sports Conference teams. But best of luck to both of them. The winner, like you said, gets their tickets punched to the sub-state. Sub-state possibilities. You mentioned this earlier. Let's look at this other side here, our sister region, if you will. Wilson Central, 30-0 right now versus Mount Juliet, who's 18-9.
It'll be the fourth time they've played. Very bitter rivals, and if you haven't seen Wilson Central play, they got a girl named Kendall Spray. She can shoot it. You were talking about Steph Curry. Obviously, she's not Steph Curry, but she can fill it up. She hit 14 threes in a single game this year. She can fill it up. She's a lot like you were in high school.
I guarantee it. 14 threes. It's going to how many attempts she had. I bet I had more attempts than she did. Rossview, in the other side of that semis over there, is 29-1 versus Clarksville, 21-7. That's an intriguing matchup. Two good teams right there. But I really think whoever wins the Wilson Central Mount Juliet game obviously will go on. I dare say that Mount Juliet is probably not going to win this fourth matchup.
No, they're not, and Rossview is going to beat Clarksville. So those are the two teams we're going to be looking at.
So Wilson Central, Rossview, let's play a little hypotheticals for a moment there. You think that Wilson Central probably advances there, host sub-state versus one of our side's loser,
right.
And Rossview will be traveling to the other side.
Correct.
Okay. All right. We'll see how that plays out. On the boys' side, Independence beats McGavick. Indy came in as the number 1 seed, 86-65. I'm telling you right now, that score was no indication what this game was. They literally got bored with them, Tate. And I'm going to tell you right now, we need to get that under control. That bothers me a little bit as I'm watching that game. Even though they were up 18-20, McGavick cut it to 10 two separate times. That bothers me a little bit because you got to stay focused in these games. It's the same way with the Cane Ridge Centennial game, boys game, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But Grayson Murphy, this might be one of the best stat lines I've heard at the high school level. With Coach Rick Bird from Belmont in attendance, Murphy drops 42 points, has 11 rebounds, 8 blocks, and 8 steals.
The 8 blocks and 8 steals just blow my mind. I mean, that's. I wish I could have been there. I know you were. I wanted to go, but what a performance, man. And then Malcolm Walker pours in, 22, 24? Well, there's 66 of your points right there. That's amazing.
Well, I have to give credit to Greg Glass. You know, he has done a phenomenal job this year. You know, Independence sitting right now currently 26-2, only 1 loss in the state of Tennessee. Now, McGavick came out with this master plan. We were talking about Lee and how they're going to do it. We're going to go belly up, belly to belly, face guard Grayson. He won't be able to get the ball, right?
That was the intent,
I think they were forgetting that he's also the point guard. So when the bucket goes, we're going to get him at half court. Well, we're going to throw it into Grayson, and then we're going to go 1-4 low. So he's got a one-on-one matchup. And that went terribly wrong for McGavick. I mean, it was not even close all night long. He ran a little bit of a dribble drive offense, which is very good in that type of defensive scheme. He runs a cutter style, 5 out or 4 out, 1 in with Malcolm in there. And sure enough, once he gets past, the post defender on Malcolm Walker always sucks in on him for help. He drops a dime. Malcolm Walker goes up and rips the rim off. It's the start of one of the many runs that they had.
That's right.
But you've got
which is how they like to play too. They feed off that.
And McGavick came in very athletic, but obviously we're not going to run with them. We're not going to run with them. Try to slow it down. And I think that draws Independence out. I mean, when they go to a zone and kind of slows the game down, Independence starts to lose focus a little bit because they really want to get it out and run.
Right.
You've got to remain focused in this tournament basketball. Cascade, Creekwood. You get yourself in an opportunity there. Cascade shouldn't even have been in the game with them. You miss a couple free throws. Next thing you know, Cascade hits a half-court shot, and you're going home. This cannot happen. They've got to stay focused, keep that thing, maybe even get a press going, even if they hit some easy buckets. That's fine. We get the game up and down, get Grayson in open court because he is one of the best players I've ever seen in open court.
Yeah, you're right. Tournament basketball, especially when they slow it down, every possession counts.
Every possession.
Every.
Cane Ridge, the number 2 team who got upset in the district championship by Hillsboro, beat Centennial, who was the 3rd seed in the overtime thriller, 84-79. I'm telling you right now, Tate, what a great basketball game. It was absolutely packed in there. The atmosphere was great. I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, Centennial got down 17 at one point and maybe even 18 at one point and kept fighting back and cut it to 10. And then they get back up 15 on them. They cut it back to 9. It was back and forth. And finally, they get the thing rolling. They get in there. They tie it up, even with a shot to win it in regulation. Don't get a shot off. Now, KJ LaSure, senior, last game, what a player this kid is, man. I mean, he's not very big. If you haven't had a chance to see him play, unbelievable athlete. Quick as a cat, finishes with 26 points. Now, he had 16 points in the first 14 minutes, and then they started literally double-teaming him. Now, Cane Ridge is a very big team. When I say big, their guards are big, heavy, big guys. Not very quick, but very big, very long, if you will. I think that Indy can pose a lot of problems for them if they try to play their up-and-down tempo with them.
Yeah, and you want to talk about just bad luck. They're a team, Cane Ridge is a team that likes to get to the basket. They like to slash and drive. They haven't hit 10 threes in a game all year long. And then they picked the other night, I think they hit, 14 or?
They hit 10 in the first half.
10 in the first half. I think
and that was the game plan going
15
in.
threes, yeah. Centennial got out of them what they wanted. They just didn't count on them making 15 threes because they haven't done it. And so what an effort. And you were talking about stat lines. You mentioned KJ with 26 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals. He was all over the court. You know, as coaches, you all talk about leaving it all out there. He left it all out there.
I mean, he had already earned the respect of the entire crowd by the end of the first quarter. Everybody was clapping. I mean,
and that's hard. In Metro, they think they're the only ones that know how to play basketball, right? So if they were respecting his performance, that was something.
It was pretty special.
They had no choice but respect Grayson's.
Pretty special watch. It almost had the March Madness. We referenced that earlier. Everybody in there, with the exception of the Cane Ridge people, were wanting them to get beat. I mean, everybody from their district, Hillwood was behind us, Hillsboro, they were all cheering for Centennial. I mean, you could see this thing coming. They're hitting shot after shot. To talk about the job that Pete Froden has done with the Centennial Cougars this year is pretty remarkable. 18-12 is what they finish on the year. This team in the last 3 years, this is the third coach that they've been on. KJ and those guys, it's a shame. I wish they had one more round. Yep. Phenomenal run that they made.
Yeah, and it's no surprise. Look at Coach Froden's resume. He does it everywhere he goes.
Absolutely, and he knows what's coming at Freedom and Page Middle, and he's going to have a chance to get himself right back in there. They lose quite a bit, of those guys that they had, and to do it in such a short turnaround. Those guys could have easily, at any given time, because I'm going to tell you, and if you're sitting here with us, you know it as well as I do, he's a grinder. He's that kind of a coach. He pays attention to the small details, okay? And he's going to grind it until they get it, because the small things always add up to the big things. We always talked about that, as a coach when you go into the locker room. It's just an article of clothing on the floor, no big deal. Those small things add up to big things. It's talking about pride, all that. He instilled that. He got them in a situation, and it's like you said, if Hillsboro doesn't win that and they play Hillsboro, I guarantee it, they probably have a chance to beat Hillsboro better than they do Cane Ridge, because Hillsboro plays a different style of basketball.
Bad matchup.
Hillsboro is the number 1 seed from the other side. They beat Dixon County, who was the 4th seed, coming in 62-53. Now, they had to come from behind to do that, Tate.
Yeah, it speaks a lot about this region. Dixon County was, I think the only person they placed higher than was Franklin, and now look where they are. But Hillsboro is one of those teams, when they're playing well, they're really, really tough. When they're not, you got a chance to sneak up on them.
Well, they play an interesting style of basketball, particularly with their personnel. I mean, they've got the post player right now. He's probably 6'6" or so, 6'7", really good player. Very athletic at the guard spots, but they like to play a half-court game and run the high-low, which is a beautiful thing. It's like poetry in motion when it's run. But most teams of that caliber usually doesn't like that. They like a more up-tempo game. So they play a style. If you can get them to miss some shots and you score along with them, that's going to score in that 40 to 50 to 60 point range. It gives you an opportunity to win. They're not going to be in the 70s to 80s like Indy had 50 at half. They could have scored 100. I mean, you get that kind of game going. The window of margin of error really gets small because you've got to stay with them. But when they play this half-court style offense, it keeps you in the game the entire way.
Yeah, and Dixon County did the best they can. I think if they thought going in 53 points, they'd have a good chance. Wouldn't have gotten beat by 9, but great tournament for them.
Franklin, the number 2 seed, right now the Cinderella of the WCS Sports Conference, beats Hillwood, the number 3 seed, 63-56. Franklin is now 9-18. Going into this thing, sets up a rematch for last year's semi versus Hillsboro. Now, this could be an interesting matchup. Like I said, they could not have hit the brakes any better. Jamie Wilson right now needs to be thankful. I know he is. We talk about it all the time. Right now, he has hit the brakes perfectly, and he is literally, 32 minutes away from a sub-state berth.
Unbelievable. And to think about it, they ended the regular season on a 12-game losing streak. Talk about could have packed it in and said, oh, man, I'm glad this is over. They didn't do it. They're young. One, that's a credit to their kids, credit to the staff keeping them in it. 10 guys played, 9 scored. Hey, you want to talk about showing up at the right time? Corbin Shepard had, in the overtime period, 2 threes, 5 of 6 free throws. He had 11 of his 15 points in overtime. Pretty good.
Well, I mean, it's just everything is going their way right now. Like you
And
said,
you're right, a great draw.
But you know what? I mean, 12 consecutive losses. It only takes one to get it going back, to get the kids to believe. They know going into the district tournament that everybody's 0-0. And they proved that because they put people home. They beat Brentwood. You know, Brentwood's coming in as the number 2 seed. Put them at home. And now here they are in the region semifinal with a team that probably is not near as good as the team that he had this time last year. But he's got just as good a chance or an opportunity to win this year as he did last year. And I mean, I'd love nothing more to see Franklin win, Indy win. One more time, we get Franklin and Indy in the region championship going to the sub-state. How awesome would that be?
Really neat.
So let's look at the semis once again. Indy 26-2 versus Cane Ridge 24-3. Franklin 9-18 versus Hillsboro, who's 18-7. Let's look at the possible sub-state matchups on the other side. Station Camp right now, one of those teams to beat. That name keeps popping up. They're 32-1 versus Lebanon 24-7.
Well, that one loss for Station Camp is the last game of the season to Cane Ridge. So I think that I don't know how that would go because we don't know how ours are yet. But I think Independence it has a very good chance against both those teams. And then if Franklin can get past Hillsboro, you know, it's not like we're looking at Blackman over there.
Right.
You know.
And then the other side of that is Mount Juliet 23-8 versus Springfield 18-12. And I agree with you. I think that Indy right now is sitting really good as long as they stay focused of getting 2 more wins and getting themselves in the state tournament. Once again, once you get to the state tournament, anything can go. But Blackman, obviously the favorite going in, still undefeated at this point, 30-plus wins. It's going to be something to see. And Coach Wortman has got his team poised.
Yeah, he does. And I saw somewhere over the weekend where East beat Tresvant by 50 points. So we got to remember they're coming there. But hey, there have been years when these sectional games look pretty grim for us. I think whoever comes out of this, I think we got a really good chance. I like it.
All right, real quick, we got to round up here pick'ems. Who do you have? We're going to throw some extra ones in there. Wilson Central, Mount Juliet girls.
The Wilson Central, Mount Juliet, Wilson Central.
Oh, I agree with you. Rossview versus Clarksville girls. I agree with you. On the boys' side, we're getting all the extras out of the way. Station Camp versus Lebanon.
Station Camp.
I'm going Lebanon in the upset right there.
Yeah.
Mount Juliet versus Springfield.
I don't like this game for Mount Juliet. Springfield is playing better, but I'm going to go with Mount Juliet.
I'm going with the boy Dustin Wilson. Springfield gets the upset there. Girls, Summit versus Dixon. Who do you have?
The ride's over. Dixon County just too much firepower.
Lady Spartans, you better pump the brakes. We got a game plan. They're going to pull it off. Ravenwood versus Cane Ridge girls.
Ravenwood gets the win.
I agree. Independence versus Cane Ridge. Game of the year.
Game of the year. This is a really, really good game. If you can get there, get there. I got to go with Indy. I think this team's special, but it's not going to be easy.
I think Indy beats them by double digits.
I hope you're
behind Grayson Murphy with another 20-point outing, not 40-point outing. Franklin versus Hillsboro is the Cinderella ride over for the Rebels.
It's over.
It's over.
Hillsboro's too talented.
Let's go, Jamie Wilson. I'm pulling for you right here. This has been WCS Sports Connection. We'll see you next time.